Hello there, grade 5 students. I hope that everybody's safe and well and that you're enjoying the online classes we have in Edmodo. Okay, so today we want to talk about commas and semicolons in series. Okay, so this is an old lesson, but then we would like to, of course, revise some of the basic concepts, go through the definitions and examples, and then answer a few items. Okay, so first, of course, you're familiar with the punctuation mark comma, right? If you would have a look, okay, where the comma is in this sentence or where the commas are, they're here. Okay, now semicolons would be looking like this. Okay, they're commas with dots on top. Okay, so when do we actually use them? Let's go to the definition. Commas and semicolons are marks of punctuation used to separate three or more items within a series or list. Okay, so if you have a collection of, let's say, three or more items in your sentences, then it's best to use commas or semicolons to separate them. Okay, a semicolon, however, is used when items in a series or in the series contain a comma already. Okay, so we have an example right here for commas first. Many sailors died from injury, infection, or disease. So you have in here your list, okay, consisting of the reasons or the causes for the sailor's death. So you have injury, infection, and then disease. Okay, to separate them, then you have to use a couple of commas, one after the first item, another after the second item, before the conjunction, and then you have your third item right there. Okay, so please make sure that if you have three items, then you use two commas. We call it the Oxford comma, what you put, okay, the comma that you put after the penultimate item before the conjunction itself. Okay, so please do not forget that. If you have four items, you use three commas. If you have three items, then you use two commas. Okay, what about for semicolons? When do we use them? So you have an example right here. The sailors fought on Tuesday, comma, September 10, and then you have a semicolon separating that date from another. Okay, Wednesday, comma, September 11, another semicolon, and Friday, comma, September 13. So if you would notice, you already have used commas in separating the day from the month. So you want to separate the set of dates from the others by using a semicolon. Again, you use a semicolon if, for example, your series already contain a lot of commas. Okay, so you have in here some items. If you have a piece of paper, then you can answer, or you can do it mentally. You have encountered these items also in the online quiz, which we have given in Edmodo. So number one, the Amphion, the Nymph, and the Pomona attack the Royal Louis. So in here you have a set of ships. Where do you place the commas, okay, in this particular list or series? Okay, think about it. Number two, you have sailors were once fishermen, laborers, and even farmers. So you have your list right here. Okay, where to put the comma. Number three, they enlisted from places as far away as Providence, Rhode Island, Lexington, Massachusetts, and Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Okay, so as you may have figured out, this time you have to use the semicolon because you have the name of the town separated from the state using a comma. So you have to separate a set of places using a semicolon for the rest of the series. So how to do it? Think about it. Number four, when facing battle, new recruits reacted with courage, fear, or shock. Okay, so you have a collection or a list of reactions right here. Where to put the comma? Think about it. Okay, so if your answers are like this, then you are correct. Okay, so where to put the comma in the first one? So after Amphion, after Nymph, before the conjunction, and then you have the third item in your list, which is the Pomona. Okay, second one, sailors were once fishermen, comma, laborers, comma, and even farmers. Okay, item number three, you have Providence, comma, Rhode Island to separate the town and the state from the rest of the items in the series, then you use a semicolon because you have already used comma in the first one, right? Lexington, comma, Massachusetts, again, town and state, separated by a comma, use a semicolon to separate the rest of it from the third item in your list, Gettysburg, comma, Pennsylvania. Okay, next number four, when facing battle, so you have in here your introductory phrase. Okay, so you use a comma even after that. New recruits reacted with courage, comma, fear, comma, or shock. Okay, so again, use comma even before the conjunction, after the penultimate item in your list. Okay, so that's it for commas and semicolons in series. Now, what if you have what you call introductory elements? Okay, so when you say introductory elements, they add information to your sentence. They are set off by commas to show that they are not part of the main idea of your sentence or the main sentence itself, the main clause. Okay, so you have to be good in determining, or let's say understanding the meaning of your sentence, so you will know where to put the commas properly. So we have in here a sample. Introductory phrase. On the first page, there was a list of important dates. So your main meaning in here is there was a list of important dates. Okay, but then since you want to add information about where you found the list of important dates you wanted to add on the first page, you have to set it off by using a comma. Okay, so let's have a look at these examples. Number one, in October, we started our unit on the Revolutionary War. If you have a pen and a paper, you can pause this video anytime you want so you can try and figure out where to put the comma, where the introductory elements are. Number two, at the beginning of the war, the British promised freedom to enslaved African Americans if they would join their army. Number three, well, some African Americans did not believe that the British would keep their promise. Number four, unfortunately, others did believe the British, who ended up losing the war. Number five, by the end of the war, thousands of African Americans had been killed. Number six, yes, but even more had fought bravely to achieve independence from British rule. So if you would notice, you have a clue already on where to put the comma because I'm pausing right at or right after the introductory elements. So pauses and even rise and fall of intonation would help you figure out where to put the comma. And also the meaning is very important in this. Okay, so if your answers are like this, then you are correct. Okay, so in the first one, you have to put the comma after in October. That's your introductory element. You're adding information about, when the unit for the Revolutionary War has started. Okay, number two, you have at the beginning of the war. That's your introductory phrase. And then the rest of the sentence set off by separating it using a comma. Okay, number three, your introductory word is well. Well, some African Americans did not believe that the British would keep their promise. So you have to put the comma right after that. Number four, your introductory word is unfortunately. Okay, put the comma after that, and then comes the rest of your sentence. Unfortunately, others did believe the British, who ended up losing the war. Okay, number five, your introductory phrase is by the end of the war. Okay, and then the rest of your sentence. Thousands of African Americans had been killed. Okay, last number six, yes, comma, but even more had fought bravely to achieve independence from British rule. Okay, so as you can see, commas have a lot of uses, not only to separate items in a series or in a list, but also to set off your introductory elements from the rest of your sentence. And also it's easy to find because when you say introductory elements, most likely, if not all the time, they would appear at the beginning of your sentence. Okay, the last one would be using commas for direct address and tag questions. Okay, so when you say direct address, okay, as mentioned here in our definition, it's when someone is being spoken to within a sentence. Okay, so it refers to your second person. Who is the person you are speaking to directly? So if you have the name of that person, then you have to set off the name from the rest of the sentence using a comma. Okay, what about tag questions? Okay, so tag questions are short questions that may appear at the end of sentences used for confirmation, okay, of prior meaning, right? But let's focus on this. It says in here for direct address, if the name appears in the middle of the sentence, then comma should be placed before and after it. Okay, so we'll understand some more of that by looking at the example. So you have in here a direct address sample and a tag question sample. Leo, I enjoyed that history unit, didn't you? Okay, or Leo, I enjoyed that history unit, didn't you? Okay, so you have in here the name of the person you're directly addressing. It's Leo. So you have to separate the name from the rest of the sentence using a comma. And then you have the tag question, didn't you? You have to place your comma before the tag question. Okay, so let's have some other samples right here. Number one, James Forten was an amazing man, wasn't he? So where to put the comma in here? Next, number two, Sandra, did you read the same biography that I did? where to put the comma, think about it. Number 3, you have time to ask questions, class, before you take the test. So again, you're directly addressing class, where to put the comma. Number 4, I wondered if there were other African American soldiers like James Corden that we could read about, Miss Temple. So you're directly addressing Miss Temple. Where should you put the comma in there? Number 5, I will give you a reading list, Jack, at the end of class. So where do you put the comma if your direct addressee is Jack? Number 6, that would be great, wouldn't it? Okay, so where to put the comma if you have a tag question at the end of your sentence. So you can pause the video anytime if you need more time for you to figure out where to put your commas, okay? If your answers are like this, then you are correct. So for the first one, James Corden was an amazing man, wasn't he? So your tag question is, wasn't he? As mentioned in our guidelines, you have to put your comma before the tag question. Usually the tag questions, you can find them at the end of your sentences. Number 2, you have the direct addressee, Sandra, okay? The person you're talking to directly. So you have to separate the name from the rest of the sentence using a comma. So Sandra, comma, and then did you read the same biography that I did? Number 3, you have time to ask questions, comma, class, comma, before you take the test. Why is that? Because class is your direct address. You're talking directly to the class, but then class appears at the middle of your sentence. It says in here, if the name appears in the middle of the sentence, commas should be placed before and after it. So please do remember that. Number 4, I wondered if there were other African American soldiers like James Corden that we could read about, comma, Miss Temple, because Miss Temple is the person you're directly talking to. You have to separate her name from the rest of the sentence. So notice that the comma appears before Miss Temple because Miss Temple was written at the end of your sentence. So please be careful with that. Number 5, I will give you a reading list, Jack, at the end of class. So you have to put the comma before and after Jack's name because his name as direct addressee appears at the middle of your sentence. Number 6, that would be great, wouldn't it? Okay, so you have your tag question, wouldn't it? Put the comma before the tag question. Okay, so I hope that you understood all of the points in here in using commas and semicolons. You can refer to some more resources in Edmodo. So stay safe, guys. Stay at home, and I will see you soon. Okay? Bye, grade 5.